Dad sent a message saying I shouldn't come to the anniversary party. He said the family believed I was too toxic to be there. My sister reacted with a heart emoji. I replied, "No problem. Just removed my card from the hotel booking and caterer." 4 days later, my phone was melting down with missed calls and a message from Mom. "Fix this now." Started with a text from my dad sent at 6:42 in the morning like it was some kind of casual memo. "Don't come to the anniversary party. The family feels you're too toxic." I stared at it for a few seconds, convinced I was reading it wrong. I blinked a couple times, scrolled up to see if this was part of a longer thread, something that gave context. Nope, that was the whole thing. My first thought wasn't even anger. It was, did he seriously send this before his morning coffee? Then, like some cherry on top, Rachel reacted with a heart emoji. Not a thumbs up, not even a confused question mark. A heart. Like this was all cute and loving and made perfect sense. We all knew I had planned the anniversary party. Everyone. I booked the hotel suite under my name, because Mom claimed she couldn't deal with logistics, and Dad still writes checks at grocery stores. I picked the caterer after driving 2 hours to try the food myself, put the deposit down, and even helped my parents design the invites. I did it because they asked me to, because I'm the oldest, as I always do. But I didn't respond with questions or anger. I just typed "no problem." Just removed my card from the hotel booking and caterer. Send it. Watched the little read receipt pop up under Dad's name, then under Rachel's, then nothing. Not a single reply. I went to work. I ate dinner. I watched a documentary about wolves. Still nothing. 4 days passed. 4 full days. That was enough time for the anniversary to implode on itself. The hotel sent a cancellation confirmation to my email. CC'd me on an invoice for the lost deposit, since I'd negotiated a pay later clause for flexibility. The caterer posted a vague but shady Instagram story about unreliable clients. I didn't say a word to anyone. Not even when Aunt Darlene emailed me directly asking, "Is the party still happening?" I'm confused. Then Saturday hit. My phone started buzzing before I was even out of bed. 23 missed calls, 5 voicemails, 1 message from Mom that said, "Fix this now." That's all it said. Not "call me," not "let's talk," not even a "how are you," just a command. I set the phone down and made myself pancakes. That probably sounds petty, but I wasn't being dramatic. I just wasn't rushing to clean up another mess they created, especially not one they pushed me out of with a 6-word text later that day. Rachel messaged me, "I didn't think you'd actually cancel everything. That's a bit dramatic." I stared at it for a long time. It was darkly ironic. For years, I'd been the family's emotional airbag, the one who smoothed over fights, planned holidays, and paid for last-minute emergencies. I was useful, not loved, not even really liked, just expected, and the moment I stopped being useful, I became the problem. I didn't reply to Rachel. That night, Mom showed up at my apartment. I live in a small building with a buzzer, and she pressed it again and again. I didn't answer. After 15 minutes, she left. No note, no apology. A year ago, I would have opened the door, said sorry for upsetting her, and tried to fix everything. This time I didn't. I let the silence speak. And for the first time, I felt a calm I didn't recognize. Something close to self-respect. By Sunday afternoon, the cracks showed. I went for a walk and left my phone at home. When I came back an hour later, it was chaos. Dozens of missed calls, voicemails, and texts swinging from passive-aggressive to desperate. A group chat had restarted, this time with aunts, uncles, cousins. Panic everywhere. Questions about canceled plans, booked days off, wasted flights. Then Rachel tried to smooth it over again. Things were said, but let's be adults. Just fix it and move on. No one mentioned Dad's message. No one questioned why I'd been called toxic in the first place. It was like that part of the story had been erased. They just wanted things back to normal, the food, the ballroom, the weekend away, no matter who got pushed aside to make it happen. I didn't reply. Instead, I did something that would have scared me a year ago. I opened my banking app and cut every shared expense tied to my name. Subscriptions, auto payments, family services gone. Netflix everyone used but never paid for, gone. Amazon Prime my mom treated like a personal store, gone. Dad's DoorDash pass, gone. Even the backup card on Rachel's Uber account. By Monday morning, they noticed. Mom texted asking why the TV subscription expired. Dad wondered why Amazon needed a new card. Rachel called it petty. I didn't answer. I went to work, grabbed coffee, answered emails, and felt nothing but clarity. That night, someone tried logging into my PayPal. I got security alerts and locked everything down. Passwords, emails, recovery info. I even removed my emergency card from my parents' pharmacy account. I knew it wasn't just for medicine. By Wednesday, things turned desperate. Mom left a voice note saying they hadn't realized how much I handled and that this had gone too far. She didn't apologize, but it was close. Then my cousin Lucy texted, 16, quiet, always overlooked. She said she was glad I stood up for myself, that no one ever does in this family. It was the first honest thing I'd heard. I didn't do it to prove a point. I just stopped doing the things no one ever thanked me for. That wasn't a statement. It was survival. The next morning, I got an email from the hotel manager saying someone had tried to rebook the event's suite in my name, but the card was declined. I didn't need to ask who it was. They were scrambling, and for the first time, realizing how much work I'd always done behind the scenes, not because I owed them, but because they expected it, not anymore. By Thursday, the silence felt strange, not peaceful, calculated. No calls, no texts, not even Rachel. I enjoyed it at first. I slept in, finished a book, cooked without checking my phone. But by Friday, I could feel it. The quiet wasn't surrender. It was preparation. Then it started. An unknown number called. I let it go to voicemail. It was the hotel's event coordinator. Someone had tried to rebook the suite using my name and the same event ID, but since I was listed as the primary planner, she needed my approval. She also asked, carefully, if I'd be attending after all. I didn't respond. That evening, I told my friend Megan about it. She couldn't believe they were trying to go through me again after calling me toxic. I told her they were acting like nothing happened, hoping I'd fall back into place. She said something that stuck. They weren't ready to let go of the version of me that always said yes. But this time, I wasn't going back. Saturday morning, my phone buzzed again. This time, it was my dad. Not a demand, not a jab, a real message. He said they'd been thinking, and it was clear they'd handled everything wrong. They shouldn't have left me out. Dad's message said it wasn't fair and that he was sorry. He wanted us all to talk calmly. I stared at it like it was written in another language. Then Mom followed, admitting they'd leaned on me too much and asking for a chance to make it right. I didn't reply. That night, Mom emailed me. The subject was starting over. It wasn't dramatic, just honest. She wrote that they'd built the family around my reliability and took the weight I carried for granted. When I finally stopped, it exposed everything. She said it wasn't my job to fix things anymore and that they wanted to do the work. I read it 3 times and still didn't know how to respond. Then came the twist. They debooked a weekend cabin in North Carolina. 2 nights, fully paid. No planning, no obligations, just space to talk. Mom added that my brother Andrew would be there too, and that they'd already spoken to him. That surprised me. Andrew had stayed, silent through all of it. Growing up, he treated me like a problem, not a partner. If he was involved now, maybe this was real. For the first time, I wasn't being asked to hold the family together. They were asking if they could try. I didn't say I was coming. I just packed a small bag, rented a car, and drove 6 hours through fog and hills until the GPS announced I'd arrived. The cabin was bigger than I expected, tucked between tall pines, smoke rising from the chimney. 2 cars were already in the driveway, lights glowing inside. I sat in my car for a minute before getting out, hands sweating despite the cold. When I knocked, Mom opened the door right away, like she'd been waiting. She didn't hug me or force a smile. She just stepped aside and said, "Come in when you're ready." The cabin was warm and cluttered, the usual rental feel. Rachel sat on the couch, clearly nervous. Dad stood in the kitchen stirring chili like it was serious work. The air smelled like spices and tension. Andrew wasn't there, which immediately made me uneasy. We ate together, though no one had much appetite. Mom tried small talk, weather, the cabin, the fire pit. No one mentioned the canceled event or the messages. Finally, Dad said we needed to talk. At the table, they didn't avoid it. Mom admitted they'd taken me for granted. That planning had been dumped on me because I was the one they trusted and then expected. She said calling me toxic came from guilt, not truth. Dad admitted he'd lashed out because it was easier than facing his own frustration. Rachel apologized too, saying she assumed I'd still show up and fix everything like always. I stayed quiet, not because I had nothing to say, but because it was strange to finally be seen, even if it came late. Then headlights swept across the window, a car door slammed, then another. I looked up. Rachel peeked through the blinds. I wasn't ready. He walked in without knocking, carrying a duffel bag and a 6-pack of local beer. His expression wasn't cold or warm, just unreadable. He nodded, set the bag down, said he'd gotten lost off the freeway, and went straight to the kitchen. We didn't speak. He opened a beer and sat across from me. The tension filled the room. After a moment, he said he wasn't there to argue. He came because Mom asked, and because he'd talked to Lucy. That surprised me. He said Lucy told him I was the only one who ever really saw her, the only one who remembered her birthday, who spoke to her like she mattered. He admitted he didn't know that, didn't know what to say. Then he looked up and said he'd misjudged me. He always thought I was controlling, but now he saw I was just holding things together when no one else would. The room went quiet. He added softly that he owed me apologies and didn't expect anything in return. He was just there. We didn't hug, no big emotions, but something shifted. For the first time, I didn't feel like the fixer or the family's backup plan. I felt like someone they were finally trying to keep. The next morning, I woke up early like always, but this time I didn't rush. I made 1 cup of coffee, wrapped myself in a scratchy cabin blanket, and sat on the porch listening to the wind in the trees. I felt calm. No pressure. No role to fill. I thought she might go for a walk or act like she hadn't seen me, but instead she sat beside me. She held her coffee with both hands, like she was steadying herself. We stayed quiet for a while. Then softly, she said she used to think I liked doing everything, that I was controlling or obsessed with being in charge, but really, I was just doing what no one else would. I didn't respond. She kept talking. She said she hadn't realized how selfish that made her, that she never once offered to help. She stared into her cup and admitted she was jealous. I was the reliable one, the person everyone called. She told herself I liked it that way so she wouldn't have to feel guilty for disappearing. For a moment, I didn't know what to say. Not because I was angry. I just hadn't expected it. Rachel had always played the role of the reasonable one. Now she was finally admitting how she let me drown. From inside the cabin, I heard dishes clinking, Dad's low voice, then Mom's laugh. It wasn't forced, just normal. When I went back in, breakfast was already on the table, eggs, toast, coffee poured. I hadn't done any of it, and no one asked me to. That alone felt different. After we ate, Mom brought out a thick, worn folder filled with receipts and notes. She said we were making a real budget this time. They'd listed everything tied to me and changed it. She handed me a page with new passwords, streaming services, delivery apps, even their pharmacy account. Everything was now in their names, paid from their own money. She admitted they hadn't realized how much they depended on me, and said that was over. Then Dad said they were selling the timeshare, the one they'd treated like a family heirloom, even when they were behind on payments and borrowing from me. He said they couldn't afford it and shouldn't expect me to cover their mistakes. I just nodded. I didn't need thanks. I just needed it to stop. Later, we walked the trail behind the cabin into a small clearing. It was quiet except for the trees. No one rushed ahead, no phones, no complaints. It felt different this time, they were simply there. That night, we lit a fire outside. Real firewood, not the packaged kind. Dad had actually chopped some earlier, which was strange to see. We sat around the pit, passing marshmallows and cheap wine, and I kept waiting for things to slide back into the old patterns, but they didn't. Instead, Andrew stood up, went inside, and came back a few minutes later holding a small box. He handed it to me without a word. Inside was a necklace, a silver chain with a simple key charm. I looked at it, then at him. He said Lucy helped him choose it. She told him I was the only one who ever made her feel like she belonged. He said if anyone should hold the key to this whole mess, it was probably me. That hit harder than anything else. Not because of the necklace, but because Andrew had actually listened. He didn't make a speech or pretend we were suddenly close. He just acknowledged what I meant, what I'd done when no one else noticed. For him, that was huge. Later, after everyone went to bed, I sat alone in the dark living room. I looked at the mugs on the counter, the worn blankets, the fire still glowing outside. I didn't feel like a guest, but I didn't feel like their support beam anymore either. For once, I was just Mary, and that was enough. We left the cabin Sunday afternoon. No tension, no forced group photo, no dramatic speeches about how everything had changed, just quiet packing, shared leftovers, and everyone heading their own way. Rachel gave me a quick hug. Mom told me to drive safe. Dad patted my shoulder like he wasn't sure what else to say. Andrew just nodded. I drove home alone with the radio off. I didn't need music. I needed silence. The kind that isn't empty but earned. Halfway back, I stopped at a diner I'd passed 100 times but never entered. Big windows, cheap booths, laminated menus that never change. I ordered pancakes at 3 in the afternoon and watched cars move along the wet highway. I didn't check my phone once. No one needed money. No one asked me to book anything or fix their accounts. I wasn't planning another family event I wouldn't enjoy. I wasn't apologizing for taking up space. I was just eating pancakes, alone and free. When I got back to my apartment, I expected to feel tired. I didn't. I felt still. That rare calm that only comes when your body finally accepts the fight is over. The week after was simple. No emergencies, no cold shoulders, no random charges on my card. The family group chat slowly came back, not with drama, just photos. Rachel sent her dog in a sweater. Mom posted a blurry garden shot. Dad shared the grill with trying again. Even Andrew, who never posts, tagged a photo of a book Lucy recommended. Not bad. It was weird, but refreshing. Then something unexpected happened at work. My manager pulled me aside midweek and said she'd noticed a shift. Clearer, more focused, confident. Apparently, I'd been showing up differently because, for the first time in a long time, I wasn't putting everyone else first. She offered me a new position. Creative control, better pay, a small team to lead. I think you're ready. You just had to stop making yourself small. I nearly cried. That evening, under a sky that somehow looked cleaner, I got home, dropped my bag, kicked off my shoes, lit a candle, and sat in silence. Peace wrapped around me. I picked up the little jewelry box Andrew gave me at the cabin. The silver chain with the tiny key sat exactly where I'd left it. Simple, honest, but heavier than anything he'd said in years. I put it on, and in that moment I realized it wasn't about forgiveness or a perfect happy ending. It was about balance. About no longer begging to be seen, walking away when I wasn't respected, and letting others choose whether to meet me where I stood. They eventually did. Not because I begged, but because I stopped. I stopped trying to prove I was worthy, stopped earning a place in a family that only called when they needed a credit card or a crisis manager. And by doing that, Everything shifted. They changed, not into perfect people, but into people who finally saw me, finally listened, finally learned to carry their own weight. That night, I looked in the mirror. Same face, same eyes, but different. I smiled, not because life was perfect, but because I finally was.